and welcome to the Talking About Today show, where today we'll be talking about Pacific Rim. I'm Mike on the mic with my friend, the masked homie. What's good, bro?
I'm chilling, man. Chilling. How you been?
Oh, dog, just living. In my notes, I've got strong start, but it has its ups and downs. It lags in the middle somewhat, and the climax is ultimately cool, but could have been much better. Ron Perlman was great to see again, and Charlie Day was hilarious. The drifting concept is an interesting approach to the mecha genre, and it is a different spin on the Voltron approach, but it requires actual effort and mental thought to maintain. The Jaegers are cool, but they are weak as fuck, which is, just an unarguable point. And the sequel just shits on anything resembling this movie's artistic vision. My ultimate takeaway is that it's a solid movie, and it's just Guillermo del Toro's love letter to mecha anime.
I like Guillermo del Toro. I'll have you know that obviously after the first 15, 20 minutes, you were still invested in this movie. I certainly was not. My notes are Idris Elba's mustache is inconsistent. Though glorious, inconsistent. And for the first 20 minutes of the movie, I thought it was about Idris Elba's mustache fighting kaiju. After 40 minutes, I then realized it'd be a better movie if it was about Idris Elba's mustache fighting kaiju. Then 45 minutes, I realized there is a depression globally caused by these mech suits that, as you said, don't work. New question. Every nation, violence. We use firearms. Why don't the mechs have guns? This is essentially the non-human to human competition version of Real Steel. Where we make giant robots that murder box.
Okay.
With the exception of the Asian robot, which did fucking kung fu.
Poorly, might I add.
Poorly.
Absolutely.
Those two, the Russian Jaeger and the Asian Jaeger,
we'll get there.
Got bounced.
We'll get there.
Relatively quickly.
We'll get there.
I wonder if this exists in the same universe as Iron Man.
It doesn't.
Iron Man could have expedited this entire movie. It would have been like 15 minutes, short skit. And it is what it is. They lengthened it by making the mechs suck.
Right.
Also, the fights, you might as well just watch King Kong Godzilla.
Dude, King Kong Godzilla is a pretty stupid movie, but at least the fights. Yeah.
But the fights. And then the only sin that this movie committed was making another one.
Okay, on that we agree. Dude, all right, so what tell me about Idris Elba's mustache, because you were talking about this during pre-production. So what's the deal here?
So Idris Elba's mustache, as you can see early in the movie, is a powerful force. That is a strong, sturdy mustache.
Is it a force
gaps.
for good?
There's no gaps where you can see the skin. It almost looks fake. I think it's fake, but Idris Elba is a sex icon in my book. So I like to think that it's real. Right. And in terms of it being an all-powerful mustache, yes. But that which is all-powerful cannot be all good. So I thought that was the villain for the first 25 minutes of the movie. So I was like, oh, fuck. The real kaiju controller is Idris Elba's mustache.
Okay.
Because it looks like a Nintendo 64 controller. So I thought that there was, some aliens. They planted a goddamn controller on Idris Elba's face, and that's what's been fucking shit up since the beginning of time.
That is such a weird takeaway.
That is such a weird movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, right.
Don't get mad at me for doing what I could to make the movie better.
No, I'm not. Look, I'm not mad at you. What I'm curious about is whether or not. So, because there is a time thing, right? And there is a time jump at one point. Maybe Idris Elba just gets sloppier because shit's getting worse. You know what I mean? Because it's not like they're winning by any chance.
No, not at any point.
Yeah, they're getting wrecked consistently. So maybe he's just stressed out.
The mustache itself is not stressed out. It looks in control the entire movie.
I mean, look.
From beginning to end.
Look, if this ended up being an Evangelion and Guillermo del Toro just made it so that Idris Elba turned face at the end, or turned heel at the end of it, and was just haha, I was secretly kaiju all along. Got him.
Nobody was secretly dying of radiation poisoning and likely infecting everybody else in the building.
So this is a good jumping off point to the Jaegers being absolutely fucking worthless, right? The engineering that went into making this thing, I'm sure, is crazy. But the fact that the nuclear shielding in the pilot's compartment
was neglected
is absurd to me.
Ridiculous.
How would you do, like,
how do you house this thing?
Yeah. What weird radioactive isotope is going off in there that is leaching through tons of metal? Like, that's what I want to know. I want the deep. I was always upset about the fact that we didn't get any real, like, Jaeger development stuff outside the first 15 minutes.
Right. They just told us that they were made.
Yeah. And the sequel tries to do that, but it's ultimately just whatever. I think that of the Guillermo del Toro movies that are in existence, right? Like, there's obviously the Hellboy stuff, Colossal, Shape of Water.
Many great films.
Yeah, yes.
Phenomenal
films, right? They're all a little bit different, and it's because that's his love letter to those genres. With this, it almost like it feels like his artistic vision was impeded by the studio, because this was a big money picture, you know what I mean? This required a lot more financial assets.
Obviously, any movie that's based on Idris Elba's mustache will get a big budget.
Almost certainly. So I can't help but feel like the studio stepped on my mans a little bit, you know what I mean? And especially when it comes to that sequel, because he wasn't even involved with that, but, you know, whatever. Yeah, I just I'm sure that he wanted to tell a different story, you know, and I think that's part of the problem, is that
I know he did. He hid it within the mech suit story. It was about Idris Elba's mustache.
Oh my goodness, no, bro!
If you watch the movie from beginning to end, and you look at how many close-ups there are of that mustache, and how they were very inconsistent with the mustache, also.
Right.
Sometimes it just reached out to the corner of his lips. Other times it went all the way down to his chin.
Bro, he's got cancer, dog. He can't shave right.
He has way worse than cancer.
What does he have?
He has
Giga cancer?
He has Jaeger cancer.
Oh no.
Yes.
No.
Yes. He has Jaeger cancer, and the first ones were nuclear, right?
Yeah.
So then
then what are the next ones? Are these black hole generators?
They just moved on to electric, powered by what?
Oh, Tesla.
Yes.
There's a Tesla battery in there.
So it's an Elon Musk movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, all right, bet. It was just pre-propaganda.
Oh, fuck.
We're fools.
So I watched a 2-hour Tesla commercial.
Probably. Okay, so here's the thing, though, right? The Jaegers are paper thin, and we'll get to that point, right? But I think it bears iterating on the fact that when you say that they don't have guns, you're wrong.
They had a plasma cannon.
No. One of them has a ballistic firearms impact weapon. The Australian one that they just built and is the newest model. So it took them 5 iterations of Jaeger, but they got there.
Yeah, before they gave it a weapon.
Before they gave it a gun.
But even when they implemented the weapon, they didn't train the pilots.
Oh, it's a plasma.
Any different.
It's a plasma core.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a plasma cannon. But
No,
that,
the robots are plasma powered.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Even then, why don't I make a plasma rifle so I don't have to be in boxing distance?
Because it gives people cancer, dog. You can't shoot that shit. What are you going to do? You're going to shoot plasma ionized radiation in a beam? Do you want to just end the Earth?
Okay, there are kaiju running about.
Exceptional things have occurred in this world.
And 80 years prior to that, something exceptional called World War II occurred, and we made nukes to destroy other humans.
This doesn't happen in 2000.
Now we have 75-story goddamn monsters. God. We might as well get worse.
This movie happens in 2020, bro. We're 2 years late.
Exactly.
Maybe it already happened.
That's why I said my 80-year prediction is pretty on spot.
You're right. My bad. Look, dude, that's an interesting take.
Exactly. We did more to destroy humans than we did to destroy the kaiju.
Well, because think about it though, right? We did try to nuke the kaiju, and it happened, but then we had to like nuke a city, right? That was the lore.
You know what? I'm gonna go on this rant now because I thought about it. Why is nobody pulling security on this goddamn breach?
Yeah. So
why don't you just put a fucking whack-a-mole Jaeger at the hole and plug the shit out of that thing?
The big monster genre is like nukes evil, radiation evil. And this is very much a radiation is the enemy movie, right? So the breach, as far as I remember, was radioactive, like a shitload of radioactivity. And you couldn't just hang out there. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that realistically, you are like, they could track when something came out, you know, like they didn't need to be on the spot. That's putting yourself at constant risk of danger. You know what I mean? Running anything 24/7 takes a lot of money and time. And if there's one thing that this world does not have a lot of, it's money or time. Except the fact that they started building a giant border wall along the Pacific Ocean. So maybe
that didn't ever work for any of the kaiju that existed during the time the wall was being built.
Yeah, I wonder how that passed the. And what was? Hang on,
I know how it passed.
What was the long-term plan there? You build the wall, and then what? More kaiju just come out of the ocean, and you just don't
solve a problem with a band-aid, produce a problem that requires another band-aid. It is the business model for Raytheon.
So you're saying that Raytheon created the kaiju?
Goddamn right.
Well, they created the Mujahideen, so I'm sure that they did.
Absolutely. and those terrorists don't got shit on giant 75-story alien terrorists. They just upped the game.
I guess. So what you're saying is that Pacific Rim is sponsored by Raytheon?
Yes.
Okay.
And it is Idris Elba's mustache's job.
All right.
to fucking take them down. If it had speaking lines, its only line would be, "Dick Cheney, I'm coming for you."
Well, all right, dude. All right. Fair enough, man. You make a good point. All right, so let's talk about Ron Perlman. All right, Ron Perlman had the best role in this movie by far.
He had the goddamn gold shoes,
bro. He had the now and later Gators.
He was the gold shoes.
He was the Don of an Asian crime city, and he was a white dude.
And he died tragically.
He didn't die.
Yeah, he did.
No, there's an end credits scene. He's fine.
Oh, after he got ate?
Yeah, he's fine.
That's crazy. You stayed for the end credits?
Yeah.
After watching that whole movie, you wanted to watch something? That's outstanding, man. You're a fucking trooper, dude.
Yeah, it's a good movie, dude. I like Guillermo del Toro movies, man. What can I say? I watched Hellboy 2 more than once.
So did I. That was a good movie. Pacific Rim, Hellboy 2, only thing in common, director.
Yeah. Agreed. But Hellboy 2 is most definitely the weaker of the Hellboy movies.
But the weakest of Hellboy movies is better than the best thing Pacific Rim could come up with. Which
was Pacific Rim 2. No, man. Look, Ron Perlman killed it. I was really happy to see him back in Guillermo del Toro production. I think that the casting was really well done, just as a whole.
Absolutely. The dude from Sons of Anarchy is the lead pilot. Yeah. Obviously, Idris Elba's mustache.
People sleep on Charlie Day in this movie, but Charlie Day was an exceptional cast. He was great as a semi-serious actor, but he was also comedic relief. And his partner, who was, I think, his developmentally disabled, I'm not sure, is like a Stephen Hawking type dude. He has a hunch and a lisp. I don't know, man. They end up drifting with the kaiju brain.
Yes.
And I feel, we haven't really talked about what this movie actually...
That is some inherently white shit to do. You can scour the globe for anyone with melanin in their skin to drift with a goddamn space alien, and you will get fuck no in every language there is.
Yeah. So to sort of clarify, because we haven't actually talked about what happens in this movie, just points about it, right? So Pacific Rim is a movie where kaiju exist and they come out of a giant hole in the Pacific Ocean. Kaiju being like Godzilla type beat monsters that just, have cool abilities and stuff. One of them's called a knife head. He has a knife and his head is in the shape of a knife.
He dies quickly.
Yeah, it's very creative. So in response, the UN, first of all, creates a one world government, so interesting. They create a one world government kind of thing, and they pool together to fund the Jaeger Initiative. Cool name for a giant mecha robot program, much like Gundam, So the Jaeger Initiative is a project by which they build Jaegers, which are giant robots.
Really expensive, nuclear-powered paper mache.
Plasma-powered paper mache, I'll have you know, sir. Okay. They're basically glass cannons. You see Jaegers get beat to shit over and over again, but we've already talked about this. So what ends up happening is that we follow the Jaeger pilot for Gypsy Danger and his brother. And this movie starts off with them on some ocean base. It's actually really cool. And they get called up, right? They get activated in the middle of the night. It's time to go. You got to go fight a Jaeger, or a kaiju rather. So they go and they suit up and they hop into the mecha, and the mecha has to be flown out to the site by Chinooks, which is actually kind of cool. I thought that was cool as like how they move them. So they land on site, they fight the kaiju. This is where Knifehead happens, right? And then fucking main dude, what's his name again?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, all right. Main dude's brother dies, right? He dies during the fight.
No, he doesn't die during the fight.
What?
I'm going to excuse him for this. He doesn't die during the fight.
All right.
He dies by essentially taking his goddamn seatbelt off in the middle of the fight, gets
Right.
thrown around the goddamn cockpit, and then eventually dies because he took his seatbelt off.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he did do the giant robotic.
I'm not taking my seatbelt off in
Yeah.
a goddamn Gogozord fight.
yeah.
Yes, no, this is a Gigazord from Power Rangers fighting a monster.
Yeah, true. He did do some dumb Megazord type beat stuff.
Exactly.
All right, yes, you got it. So anyway, thank you, Masked Homie, for correction.
You're welcome.
He does that. His brother freaks out because you need two people to pilot a Jaeger. He somehow manages to fight the thing off, but I mean, long-standing
He
psychological.
fights the thing off and then disproves the fact that you need two people to fight a Jaeger, which is
Yeah.
also disproven later in the movie when Idris Elba and his mustache tell the main character that he and the main character are the only ones who have ever soloed a Jaeger.
Yeah,
Therefore,
true.
it can be done.
Well, Idris Elba's mustache is a whole other person. Anyway, God.
Oh, damn. So it was two people.
Right? Anyway, after this sequence, we get a very long and confused middle bit of this movie where we see the main protagonist working as a construction day laborer, despite the fact that Jaeger pilots are famous and that he told us that they were famous at the beginning of the movie, and they make no real reference to this ever again. So... And this dude like walks out in public and it's fine, right? Like that's not how that's supposed to work. Whatever. So he goes to work on a construction site building this Trans-Pacific Wall, which, as we already covered, is kind of stupid and ultimately pointless.
And also built mostly by Chinese and Filipino people, so it's probably not going to work anyway.
Walls built on bodies don't tend to work out well.
Nope. You just go around them.
Anyway, we come back to him in the throes of depression and implied alcoholism. This movie is not that deep. Idris Elba and an Asian woman show up.
And his mustache.
And his mustache. And an Asian woman show up. Makoto, I think her name was. They all have a discussion, an argument about something. And they're like, dude, you gotta come back. And he's like, I won't go back. You can't make me go back. And then they leave. Then a kaiju breaks through the Pacific Wall in Australia, ultimately proving that his entire effort is pointless and that the only way he can make positive change in the world is by being a Jaeger pilot. He goes back to being a Jaeger pilot because that was what he needed to see.
Because the movie gave him 5 years off.
Yeah.
Just to bring him back one scene later.
Yeah, the salt of, oh, I'm never going back. Oh, there's no, all right, man, like he just goes back. Whatever. We are dealing with this guy trying to reintegrate himself into the Jaeger program and stuff, right? Like he comes back to this base and it turns out that these dudes are on the ropes and the only people who are really left are the diehard, like we're here because we know this is the way it should be. This is like the right answer. There's been base closures. The Jaeger program is basically being shut down because the UN was like, hey man, the wall makes sense. Now that the wall does not make sense, they have reevaluated this plan, and that's why Idris Elba and his mustache end up having a very Neon Genesis Evangelion type, like, talking to the heads sequence. He's, like, super, like, yes, I'll do what you want, but I'm actually going to do what I want. It's like, it's very Gendo Ikari.
Yes.
But during this time, we get the budding romance between the main pilot dude and the Makoto, who is later revealed to be Idris Elba's, like, adopted daughter through part of the training that they do. She and him are set to be Jaeger pilots together for Gypsy Danger. So they end up having a bunch of training montages. They have they speak Japanese together. They work out together.
Yeah,
right?
where they lead you to believe that Mikoto can never pilot it with the main character. And then obviously they're going to end up piloting it together. Yes. A complete waste of like 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean when I say it's middling. Like,
and then the 15 minutes prior to that was about him building a wall that was entirely irrelevant to the story.
Yeah, exactly. And then the 15 minutes after this weird training montage are spent playing with Charlie Day and his assistant as they do kaiju research things. Yep. And it's just wholesome fun, I guess.
And then that starts the B plot.
Yeah.
Where as the B plot starts, the A plot, they fight a kaiju. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest kaiju they've seen in a very long time.
Right.
2 Jaegers go down. Instantly, they drop the third Jaeger. Third Jaeger kind of handles business, ends up handling business, and then you immediately reach the climax.
Yep. Yep.
We're a ginormous Category 5. Don't know how you have a Category 5 if they've never existed.
So kaiju are measured in categories, right?
How do I establish a cat? That means there's got to be a Category 6, 7,
Well, they
8,
have a scale
9,
for these things.
10.
You know what I mean? So
What is it? Every 20 stories, you're a new kaiju?
I guess it's that or your weight, right?
Okay, so do the kaiju step on a fucking scale before they come out of the breach?
No, but you can tell by the impressions left in the ocean floor.
Who's over there? We just established that nobody is over there because
You
of
think that,
radiation.
yeah, because they don't stop them right away. So there's going to be footprints eventually, right? Like Knifehead, they fought him like close to California.
Right. So they were able to tell me what category he is when I could visually compare him to the goddamn Empire State Building.
Well, I mean, at that point, right? Like you can also get visual confirmation based on the waves, based on the geolocation of where they're at, the depth of where they're stepping.
Mike, my question is, why is there a category system at all? There is a goddamn giant alien monster. I don't want you to tell me how big the giant alien monster is. I stopped at giant alien monster.
Right.
Now I need something giant-er to kill it.
Okay. Well, I mean, proportional response, right? That's the whole deal here. Because they like, so, you know,
But there are no different classes of Jaeger.
Yeah, well, because we've seen that 3 of them are dog shit together, so you gotta have a 1-to-3 ratio of something, right?
So we built a bunch of Jaegers to beat Category 1s one-on-one, and then we built more Jaegers in the next generation that were better at fighting Category 1s, but at no point did we establish, I need a Category 5 killer. Even Tony Stark made a Hulkbuster armor.
Well,
because
yeah.
I'm going to need an inherently different goddamn Iron Man suit to fight this gamma radiation bodybuilder.
True.
Named Lou Ferrigno.
No.
Yes.
I mean, yes, but no.
Yes.
Lou Ferrigno was the Hulk, dude. Lou Ferrigno's Hulk was pretty good.
Yes, the new Hulks are CGI.
True.
Lou Ferrigno is the only true gamma radiation bodybuilder.
That's true.
Exactly.
So while the AB plot starts running, we get this sequence where the main dude, I think his name is Charlie. I'm not sure. It's not Charlie. The main dude and Makoto.
His name is now Charlie.
Yeah, right. Charlie 1 and then Charlie Day. So Charlie 1 and Makoto have this, like, we're piloting the Jaeger for the first time thing, and then she starts doing this thing called chasing the white rabbit, right? So when you when you pilot a Jaeger, you have to perform this maneuver called drifting, and it's not hitting the e-brake and popping your clutch. It's more akin to like neural linking, right? So you synchronize your brain waves and your memories and thoughts. You basically share a brain with a person.
Quick question for you about this whole drifting thing.
Yo.
So I understand, as they explained it in the movie, that they drift and they're neural linked, and that every thought and everything that passes through their mind, feelings, emotions, pain, they're all matched up, right?
Right.
The only question I have is, why the fuck do they talk while they're piloting if I can hear your thoughts?
That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't have an answer for you. I'm going to put it down to the same reason that my dude took his seatbelt off and say plot contrivance.
Okay, it has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be. Because when I think about it, I think, like, there are times in this movie that they're screaming, shut the fuck up. Like, I heard it when you thought it. Then on top of that, what kind of assholes are in these fucking mechs in the middle of a kaiju fight, having to be told something multiple times when you are the literal other arm of the mech suit that I am also in?
I mean, look, so ask Voltron, dude. I don't know. Look, I don't know how you managed to make a 5-man mech suit work. I don't.
Why didn't they just make one 30-man mech suit to fight any kaiju that could exist? Why are we making multiple mechs if there's one breach? Why don't I make one huge autonomous mech?
Because sometimes they come out in onesies and twosies, and creating Sentinel Prime is beyond the UN.
That's fucking fair.
Yeah. You can't expect the UN to create Sentinel Prime, dude. That's too much for man. It took the Cybertronians 300 years to build that guy.
Yeah, but the Cybertronians were in an economic depression.
Yeah, and so is the UN, but they didn't have Cybertron money.
I don't think Cybertron had any money.
I mean,
they don't have to eat.
No, yeah, they do, dude. That's what the entire war was about. They needed Energon.
So you telling me a bunch of giant ass robots was fighting over a box?
No, that was the Allspark. They were fighting over the kind of energy that box can create. The Allspark is like God, bro.
Wait, so Transformers is the mechanized version of Naruto, in which individuals fight for some chakra that has spread throughout the world by a tree.
To be continued on Shonen Jump Saturday. So Pacific Rim ultimately resolves with the main guy and Makoto figuring out their psychological trauma together and healing together. And then Charlie Day and Charlie Day's adventures on the B-plot result in him going to Ron Perlman's drug lair, where he acquires what can only be described as kaiju adrenochrome.
He sells kaiju parts on the black market. To who? I don't even fucking know.
Well, he's in China, right? And so China has this really big, like, cultural holistic thing where they will, like, snort rhino porn powder and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, like, it's for that.
They eat dogs and cats and shit.
I mean, yeah. So, like, if you gave them kaiju, it'd be like,
I give them giant dog and cat and shit.
Well, no, you give them dragon parts, right? Because they're dragons, basically. Like, that's...
I wonder if wealthy people ate that or poor people.
You're going to sit here and tell me that an old Chinese man sitting on the corner of his nice house because he has, like, he's old and Chinese and they respect their old people there. He's not just going to pull up and be like, hey, bro, I got legitimate dragon powder. You want some of this? It'll make you young again.
I will tell you, an old Chinaman has been doing the same thing since he was born. And just because you introduce some dragon bones to some shit, it's not going to change his routine, man. That's a Chinaman we're talking about.
True. They
don't even use banks.
True.
He's definitely not getting experimental with the dragon bone powder.
True.
Maybe heroin. But it's been around for a long time.
Look, so whatever. Different. Anyway, the point is that he sells exotic curios and eclectic kaiju bits.
He owns a fucking general store in Skyrim after you kill a dragon and sell all that shit to him.
Yeah, basically. And
that's all he's got going for him.
Yeah, and he's dressed like a pimp every single time you see him. He's got now and later gaiters on. He's got wingtips with steel in them. And he just uses a knife to threaten people. Like, what more could you want? He's like, he has the Hellboy swagger, but he sells body parts. And it's a great role. And their interaction is hilarious because it's just Charlie Day whimpering in the corner. It's like, what was that movie with him and Ice Cube? Fist fight or some shit?
Something like that.
Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
The entire movie is predicated on the fact that Ice Cube wants to beat Charlie Day's ass.
That will be the next movie Monday.
It is hilarious.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. It's just him being a small scared man in the corner, a la Charlie from Always Sunny. And eventually he gets the adrenochrome and he takes it back to his lab and he drifts with it, right? And by drifting with the kaiju adrenochrome, he learns some cool stuff. But you don't get to figure it out until after the fact because suspense is important.
As I said, this is some inherently white shit.
Absolutely.
And also the mark of a man who has never kissed anybody.
Why? What's the...
Look, dude, if you stick your tongue in a woman's mouth, you will feel that you have gone as far into someone's mind as you would like to.
Well, this is an alien, though.
The mark of a man who's never kissed a woman.
All right, whatever you say, dog. Whatever you say. Anyway, so we go back to Makoto and Charlie 1. And Charlie 1 is, he's calm, he's good, he's ready, he's just vibing out.
And that's because we've just established that he has plot armor.
Yes,
At this point in the movie, there's serious plot armor on this man.
Yeah, this dude's not dying ever.
And we've seen Idris Elba and his mustache catch a nosebleed, so we know that there's no plot armor for the mustache that should be armored. And we kind of know where this is going to head.
The blood touches the mustache. That's how you know it's weak. That's cinematography.
Yep, dripped all over that expensive ass
cinematography,
suit.
Man.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So anyway, they go into the loading bay, the communal loading bay where they keep their Jaegers. And there's a sequence where they introduce the new Jaeger pilots to them, right? So there's the Russian Jaegers, or the only remaining ones, actually, not even new. It's just what's left. So it's Gypsy, Cherno Alpha, which is the super cool, giant, literal nuclear reactor-shaped mecha from Russia, right? And it's an older model, and it still leaks radiation, and the pilots are dressed like Road Warrior cyberpunks, and it's so dope. And then it's Crimson Typhoon, I think, is the Chinese Jaeger.
Yes.
And it's a 3-man Jaeger. And those dudes are, they're like elite.
And they do kung fu with buzzsaws.
Yeah. They're so cool.
And the mech has 3 arms, and the technique was undefeated, obviously, because the Jaeger's fine, up until the first fight we ever see it get into.
What a coincidence. And the Australian one, Striker Alpha, something like that, some dumb Hua name.
There's like Striker, and then there's Gypsy. Gypsy's the new one.
No, Gypsy's
the old one.
Gypsy's the old. I'm saying the Australian
Idris Elba
one.
and his mustache came in. Yeah, I can't remember what the new one's called, but the new one is faster, lighter,
Striker Alpha or something like that. Yeah.
Has a sword. The only one that made any sense in terms of putting weapons on it.
Yeah. So Gypsy Danger, Cherno Alpha, Crimson Typhoon, and Striker roll out. They're having like a little powwow in the loading dock, right? And Charlie Day's assistant dude comes up and he's like, oh, you gotta come to the lab. He's figured it out. And it's Charlie Day there sitting down and he's like vibrating, like not even shaking. My dude is convulsing violently. One of his eyes is bloodshot red and like blue iris, and he's just like, he looks fucked up. And then he's like, oh, the coordinates, they're sending a big one. He's just fucking gibbering, right? Eventually, they managed to figure out that he was able to drift with this thing and learn that they come from a parallel dimension, which is what the breach in the Pacific Ocean is, and that they're sending through the biggest kaiju they've ever sent through soon. And so they have a doomsday clock that starts up, right? And this is where you have that climactic scene where Idris Elba is like rallying the troops, and he's like, ladies and gentlemen, today we are canceling the apocalypse. I can't do a British accent worth a shit. My voice isn't deep enough. But yeah, it's just a super great, like, watch the movie, right? This is worth it just for that, honestly. All jokes aside. So they do that, and then they have to mobilize to go meet that kaiju. And this is where the movie just turns into a wet sandwich in a paper bag.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll break this down.
You do it.
They plan on nuking the breach. As they go to nuke the breach, they get new intel. That intel is a result of 2 white people drifting now this time.
Oh.
And they realize that not only is this breach from another dimension, but there is a fucking thumbprint scanner that will tell them whether it is a kaiju or not, and will only let kaiju through. So they decide, you know what? I'm just going to kill this kaiju and dive through the hole with it. Who's going into the hole? Obviously, Idris Elba and his mustache. Craziest tragedy, Idris didn't tell anybody that this was on his mind or something that he would fucking do. And in the Jaeger with him is this other dude's fucking son that's about to get nuked to shit just because. Then, tragedy. The Jaeger that Idris is in gets destroyed and is unable to drop the goddamn bomb into the breach. So what does he do instead? He blows him and that other probably 19, 20-year-old dude next to him to kingdom fucking come to kill all the kaiju.
Yeah.
Except for one, the main character tackles into the breach, goes into the breach, ejects after starting his fucking nuclear timer to blow this thing up. He ejects and makes eye contact with the goddamn aliens, whose obviously their eyes are wide. They've seen a nuke before. They probably made it like thousands of years ago. Some ancient tech still scary.
Yeah.
And then on a fucking flotation device, shoots up through the breach as it blows up to the surface, where they reveal that Makoto is also the main character's love interest. And then the movie ends like that.
Yep. There is no resolution to any of the
Not
other
at all.
major plot points.
And you sit there knowing I wasted my life watching this movie.
I don't think
And it looks like they left it open to make another one.
Yeah, I don't think that it was a waste of time to watch it. I do think that it's disappointing the way that it ends, simply because the sequel exists and is so bad. I said it before. I don't think Guillermo del Toro got to make the movie that he wanted to make.
The only thing Guillermo del Toro got to do is put that fake ass mustache on Idris Elba's face. The rest is not even a Guillermo del Toro movie.
But dude,
it is a movie given to Guillermo del Toro.
I can't believe that Idris Elba's mustache killed 2 other people.
I'm gonna tell you the real story.
Oh yeah?
The mustache the entire time was trying to kill this other Jaeger pilot's son. So, in the end, the mustache got what it wanted. The mustache got exactly what it wanted. And that is the only resolution that we found in this movie. The mustache will forever rest in peace because it got nuked.
You know what, bro? Yeah. Rest in peace to Idris Elba and his mustache.
It had big dreams.
It really did, man.
Did you see it? It was growing. No skin shows. Just pretty.